left by my window the falling leaves of red and gold. I see your lips, the summer kisses, the sunburned hands I used to hold. But since you went away, the days grow long, and soon I'll hear old winter song. But I miss you most of all, my darling, when autumn leaves start to fall. When autumn leaves start to fall, when autumn leaves start to fall, when autumn leaves start to fall, when autumn leaves start to fall. All of me, why not take all of me? Can't you see that I'm no good without you? Take my lips, I want to lose them. Take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbyes left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, and so I now take all of me. that I'm no good without you. Take my lips, I want to lose them. Take my arms, I'll never, never lose them. Your goodbyes left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not? Tell me why not? Oh, baby, why not? Take all of me.
Good afternoon. My name is David Hall. I am the president of the University of the Virgin Islands, and it is my delight to welcome you to this distinguished student convocation. I will, in a moment, introduce who our keynote speaker is for this event, but it is a student convocation, and so our very, very special guests are our students. So I would like for us to give a round of applause to the UVI students who are present. Some of them are on the stage, and you will hear from them shortly, but we are really delighted that we were able to fly over 23 of our student leaders from the St. Croix campus. But I want to make sure that St. Croix is in the house. All right. It is a blessing and a challenge at times to have two campuses that are part of the university, and we do our best to make sure that students participate in all of the activities that are here. We have some other special guests that I'd like to recognize before we move into the substantive part of the program. We are delighted that our Lieutenant Governor, Tregenza Roach, is with us. The Lieutenant Governor and the legislature plays such a critical role in supporting this university, and we are delighted that we have various senators who are present as well. Former Senate President Donna Frett Gregory is here. We also have Senator Carla Joseph, who is here. And I don't believe I have missed any other senators who are present, but again, thank you for your enormous support. We do have members of the foundation of the University of the Virgin Islands who provide financial support as well to the university who are present, and I'd like to introduce them as well. Jim Tunick, the chair of the Foundation for the University of the Virgin Islands. Adrian Dudley, I believe, is also with us, a member of the Foundation Board. And of course, many of our deans and administrators and faculty and staff who are present, and we welcome all of you here. I personally want to recognize and thank my wife, Dr. Marilyn Braithwaite Hall, for being present. And we have a very, very special guest. I'm still trying to figure out how he's here, but our keynote speaker is pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, and at that church they have a scouting program, which I have certainly in my visits there seen these scouts coming together to serve the community and to be a part of that church. And one of those scouts is not only with us here today, but is serving as an usher. And so I would like to introduce Martin Emanuel Jr., who is a scout in the program at Ebenezer. Thank you for coming all of this way. Certain pastors have entourages that travel with them. I am glad that he allows his scouts to travel with him. But again, thank all of you for being here. Because this is a student convocation, we wanted to start out by having greetings from two of our students in the beginning. So you will first hear from Jakima Fleming, who has served in many roles in leadership here at the university, but presently she is a member of the Board of Trustees. She is the student representative to the Board of Trustees, and she will be followed by Adala, who is the president of the Student Government Association on St. Croix, and he will be bringing you greetings as well. And because this program is being live streamed, we want to welcome all of those who are not physically present, but who are part of this student convocation as well. I hope those who are present and those who are online enjoy this inspirational moment. Thank you. Jakima.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Thank you. I'm still excited, you see. All right, so following the protocol established by our great president, Dr. David Hall, a special welcome to all dignitaries, senators, special welcome to you, Dr. Hall, as well, and of course to our esteemed keynote speaker, Senator Warnock. As we gather here today, it is also my privilege to acknowledge and extend a heartfelt welcome to all of our students, for this is in fact, as Dr. Hall stated, an event truly designed for our students. Your presence here underscores the significance of this event, and it reaffirms our shared commitment to fostering a community of critical thinkers, engaged citizens, compassionate leaders, and globally interactive individuals. Today, Senator Warnock will share with us his insights on a search for the soul of the nation. His words are sure to inspire and challenge us, prompting deep reflection on the critical issues that confront our society. As students, we must engage and we must understand that in our presence is a stalwart of a figure, a historian, a man of great influence. I hope that his words can not only touch our hearts, but move our souls. Once again, welcome to the University of the Virgin Islands, distinguished students, to our Convocation 2024. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and honored participants, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to this esteemed Spring 2024 Student Convocation Ceremony. Today, we gather here to celebrate this momentous occasion that symbolizes the commitment, dedication, and leadership of our students. First and foremost, I would like to extend my profound gratitude to President Dr. Hall for this magnificent opportunity to attend this ceremony. It is truly an honor to be a part of such a special event. Dr. Hall, thank you for your leadership and thank you for making it possible for me and my team to participate in this historic moment for the university. I would also like to extend a special thank you to Ms. Yana Ostry, our Director of Student Activities on the Albert A. Sheen campus. Ms. Ostry continues to support, guide, and encourage student excellence. Students, together we are on a journey that holds great potential. Our role as student leaders goes beyond mere titles or positions. We are entrusted with the task of amplifying the voices of our fellow students, advocating for their needs, and fostering an inclusive environment that nurtures growth and success. We strive to create a community that embraces diversity, encourages collaboration, and empowers every individual to thrive. Leadership is not confined to a single person or position, and every single one of you sitting here today has shown profound leadership on your campus. I encourage you all to continue embracing innovation and creativity. In conclusion, congratulations once again to all the students on earning a position here at this historic event for the university. And let us continue to grow, unite, and strengthen our community through our leadership. Thank you again.
I am extremely proud of the growth that our music department has engaged in over the last 15 years. We have been blessed to have outstanding students who perform and learn as a part of that program, but we have been richly blessed to have a leader of our music program that has really shined in so many ways. So we will now hear from our jazz combo under the leadership of our music director, or the director of our music department and communications, Dion Parson. They will inspire you if you open your soul to the beauty that is contained in their talent. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing? My name is RJ Felix. I'm a student of music performance at the University of the Virgin Islands, directed by Dion Parson. Today we're going to do a great song by someone you may know named Stevie Wonder. It's about a word, a four-letter word that we all know called love. And joining me will be Amy Moncherie as my backup singer, Tishawn Paul on saxophone, Mr. Parson on the drums, Carlton Holmes on the keys, and Micah Mahance on the bass. Do enjoy. Good morning or evening, friends. Here's your friendly announcer. I have serious news to pass on to everybody. What I'm about to say could mean the world's disaster, could turn your joy and laughter to tears and pain. Is that love's any of a love today? Don't delay, send yours in right away. Hay's gone round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far. force of evil plans to make you his possession. And it will, if we let it, destroy everybody. We all must take precautionary measures. If love and peace you treasure, then you hear me when I say, don't you know that love's in need of love today? Don't delay, send yours in right away. Hate's gone round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far. Love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Hate's gone round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far. Love's in need of love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Yeah. Hate's gone round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far. Love's in need. Come on, y'all. Love today. Don't what? Don't delay. Right away. Hate's doing what? Hate's gone round, breaking hearts. Stop it, please. Gone too far. One more time, y'all. Love's in need. Love today. Don't delay. Right away. Hate's gone round, breaking hearts. Stop it, please. Gone too far. Love's in need of for love today. Don't delay, send yours in right away. Haze gone round, breaking many hearts. Stop it, please, before it's gone too far. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. It is my honor to introduce our keynote speaker for this 2024 Distinguished Student Convocation. From the red clay of Georgia, God, through an invisible spiritual hand, molded and shaped a young boy for a purpose that exceeded his own imagination. From his humble beginnings in the Caden Homes Housing Project in Savannah, Georgia, this boy's parents, both of whom were ministers of the gospel, instilled within him a deep spiritual reservoir that he would drink from for the rest of his life. In a southern environment where Spanish moss and people hung from oak trees, a spirit of social justice was born inside of this boy and compelled him to walk in the footsteps of civil rights and social justice icons. And today, that boy has become a U.S. Senator, pastor of the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia, and also a penetrating orator, author, and activist statesman. Senator Raphael Warnock, a beacon of hope, resilience, and progress, emerged as a prominent figure in the political landscape when he was elected as the first black senator from the state of Georgia. His historic victory in January 5th, 2021 runoff election not only marked a pivotal moment in American history and altered the balance of power in the U.S. Senate, it created earthquakes throughout the political landscape. And yet, the next day, January 6th, reactionary forces attempted to shatter democracy through an insurrection at the Capitol. But we learned long ago that attempts to crush truth only make it rise again. Senator Warnock has been a strong advocate in the Senate for increasing the minimum wage, capping insulin costs, restoring voting rights protection, relieving student loan debt, providing emergency agriculture support for farmers of color, expanding health care, and addressing climate change, just to name a few. As the senior pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, the spiritual home of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Senator Warnock championed social justice causes, advocating against mass incarceration and championing the needs of the voiceless and marginalized. His sermons are masterpieces of eloquence and relevance. The scriptures of the gospel are revealed so they relate to one's personal life and the various challenges facing this nation and the world. This spiritual brilliance is not an accident, but the result of his tutelage under various outstanding pastors and theologians. He received his master's and doctorate in divinity from Union Theological Seminary and was taught and mentored by the great theologian, Dr. James Combs. Pastor Warnock, in an era where some would like to erase Black history and culture, is unapologetically Black and yet embraces all people in his effort to create what Dr. King called the beloved community. He is the author of 3 books and numerous articles and has received numerous honors and awards. We are honored to have such a distinguished and humble servant of God and people to serve as our distinguished Student Convocation speaker for 2024. We believe in transparency at UVI, so I must share with you that Senator Warnock and I were born and raised in the same city, Savannah, Georgia, though numerous years apart. I am so proud to see someone from the city that gave me life rise to such heights in religious and political service. However, our commitment to transparency forces me to let you know that despite having achieved so many great things in his life, he has made a couple of major mistakes. While growing up in Savannah, he attended and graduated from Saul C. Johnson High School, a very nice school. But any reputable historian would conclude that Alfred E. Beach High School is the best and most historic school in Savannah, which I was blessed to attend. I fondly remember that the year athletics was integrated in Georgia, that we beat Johnson 4 times in one basketball season on our way to the state championship, which made history. I should note that Johnson returned the favor the next year, but history was already made. Second, he attended Morehouse College after graduation, a very prestigious HBCU. Yet he chose not to pursue and obtained a degree from the most unique, innovative, and captivating HBCU situated in the majestic Caribbean, the University of the Virgin Islands. But he is a man of faith. So God looked beyond his faults and saw his needs. And in December 2021, he was awarded an honorary doctorate degree from the University of the Virgin Islands, which was bestowed upon him by the president who graduated from Beach High School. Isn't God good and merciful? Seriously, it is with deep humility, pride, and love that I welcome our speaker for today, my senator, U.S. Senator, I have other senators, my U.S. Senator, pastor, fellow Savannian, Dr. Senator Raphael Warnock.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Well, hello, University of the Virgin Islands. UVI. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you so very much to my brother, Dr. David Hall, native of Savannah, Georgia, God's country. Thank you for that kind and generous introduction, for your friendship and partnership. Dr. Hall and Dr. Hall, Dr. Marilyn Braithwaite Hall. Let's hear it for the First Lady. scholar and leader in her own right. They have become dear friends. And I want to report that they are good tithe-paying members of Ebenezer Baptist Church. It is indeed wonderful to be here, and I come with a great deal of respect for the leadership of this president, for his vision. I spent time touring the campus yesterday, and I am excited about your future. Give God praise for your future. Mr. Lieutenant Governor, you honor all of us by being here. Let's hear it one more time for the Lieutenant Governor. Thank you so very much, sir. And of course, to the members of the Senate who are also here, all of our distinguished leaders, distinguished clergy. Give them and yourselves a great big round of applause. The president is right. There's no question that the students who are gathered in front of me are smarter than me and smarter than him. Because I had not heard of the University of the Virgin Islands when it came time for me to go to school. I wish I had. You all had the good sense to come to school on the beach. I don't know that I would have got much done had I come to college on the beach. In search of the soul of the nation. 56 years ago tonight, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his last sermon. Today is April 3rd. It was 56 years ago tonight that he delivered his last public address. Less than 24 hours later, he would meet his apotheosis. He belongs to the ages. But it was the culmination of a 13-year commitment to redeem the soul of America. It started as a bus boycott in Montgomery. And the thing that I want these students, especially in front of me, to understand is that Dr. King did not start the bus boycott. If you begin talking about his history by saying that the first thing he did was organize a bus boycott, that's not true. The movement was already happening. In fact, you ought to read a book by Joanne Robinson called The Montgomery Bus Boycott and the Women Who Started It. He was recruited as a 26-year-old young minister that no one really knew, serving the most prominent black church in Montgomery. He was summoned to leadership. And we never know when we might be summoned to do that which is essential. Your job is to be prepared, to give it all you got, to say with the prophet Isaiah, if the Lord needs somebody, here am I. Send me. But I'm always struck, Dr. Hall, by the fact that while Dr. King's movement integrated public accommodations, that was not the motto of his organization. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference, their motto was not to integrate public accommodations, although that was a goal. Their motto was not to pass voting rights, although that was a goal, and they did achieve both of those things. The motto of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which is in a real sense a child, a product of the historic black church in America. Its motto literally was to redeem the soul of America. That's what they set out to do. They moved from an assumption and an understanding that while the work was political and social, it was also spiritual. In a real sense, they set out to save our democracy, to help us to live up to the American ideal. I'm blessed to be a beneficiary of that work and doing my best to carry it out. I believe that democracy is the political enactment of a spiritual idea. The notion that each of us has within ourselves a spark of the divine. We have value, and if we have value, we ought to have a voice. And the way to have a voice in a democracy is to have a vote. That very understanding is under siege right now. And we are summoned in this moment to redeem the soul of America. That was Dr. King's work. And he was deeply committed to it. Howard Thurman, who also attended Morehouse College, great Christian mystic, said, "Ask not what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go and do that, because what the world needs is people who've come alive." And there's nothing like a young mind that has come alive. That's why I was so thrilled to have a tour of the campus yesterday, to spend time in your Marine Sciences building, to encounter young people in the Innovation Center. It's nothing like something capturing your imagination and then going after it with head, heart, and hands so that you might make a contribution. Dr. King was dedicated to that. He was committed to that. He wanted to make sure that all of us could live up to our highest potential, because in a very real sense, the whole democracy depended on it. And so he committed himself to fighting the triplet evils of racism, poverty, and war. And so there he was, 56 years ago tonight, giving that speech, saying, I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. There he was in Memphis. And why was he in Memphis in the first place? He was in Memphis because he had been summoned there by the depth of his commitment to stand up for the most marginalized members of the human family. Don't ever forget that the only reason Dr. King was in Memphis in the first place was because some garbage collectors needed him. Garbage collectors, people that other people overlooked. Dr. King understood that they were children of the living God, and two of them, Robert Walker and Echo Cole, were forced one rainy day to ride on the back of the garbage collection truck in 1968. 4 years after we had already passed the Civil Rights Movement, and so we had a Public Accommodations Act. But 4 years later, they were forced to ride the back of that truck. They could not ride in the cab of the truck like their white counterparts in the midst of a rainstorm. And so they were trying as best they could to find some shelter from the rain, but there was no shelter from the ugliness of racism. And we don't know how exactly it happened, but they were on the back of that truck, and Robert Walker, were literally crushed in the back of their own truck. Poor people crushed. And we live in a moment right now where poor people are being crushed by mean-spirited policies, crushed by those who do not understand that most poor people are children. And so it's up to you. I hate to lay that heavy burden on you, but it's up to you. We need you in a moment like this. Now, I know that a lot of you will look at me and see the senior pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church. You will look at me and see a United States senator, and you will say, how do I relate to that? He's a U.S. senator after all. But the thing you have to understand is that all of us have a journey. People see you at the height of your journey. They see what you have come to, but they don't know what you had to go through to get there. I decided I would go to Morehouse College because I didn't hear about this school on the beach. Seriously, I decided to go to Morehouse College because although I was born after Dr. King's death, I was summoned to that historically black college and university by the power of his witness. Something about him captivated my imagination as a kid. And my parents were both preachers, and I wanted my faith to come alive in the public square, and I just wanted to attend the school that Dr. King attended. I had no idea I'd become the pastor of the church that he led. God always dreams a dream bigger than the dream we've been dreaming for ourselves. And so I decided I was going to Morehouse, come hook or crook. No matter what. I often say that I went to college on a full faith scholarship. Raise your hand if you went to college on a full faith scholarship. I didn't have enough money for the first semester. The year I went to college, the tuition at Morehouse, tuition, room, and board was equal to my parents' annual income. My parents were short on money, but they were long on love and long on faith. And they told me that Dr. King was right, that faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the whole stairwell. And so I decided I was going no matter what. And I arrived on the campus of Morehouse College, and I realized that I was at a historically black college and university because, first of all, the brothers were dressed up in Brooks Brothers suits. They looked so good they hadn't been to the first class. They looked like they worked on Wall Street. Some of them were driving fancy cars, and there I was trying to figure out how to close the gap, the financial gap on my first semester. They're driving, whizzing by in fancy cars, and I looked to my dad and my mom, and the thing I have to tell you about my dad and mom is they were both Pentecostal preachers. My dad was a preacher and a junk man. On weekdays, he lifted junk cars on the back of an old rig that he built himself, took it to the junkyard, and that's how he paid for his family's needs. And then on Sunday morning, the man who lifted broken cars lifted broken people. My mom and dad, Pentecostal preachers, used to speak to me in King James English. You know, my mama had a way of saying, "Thou shalt wash the dishes, lest I smite thee with my rod and my staff." And I looked at my parents as I was standing there the first day I arrived on the campus. I looked at my dad. I'm one of 12 children in my family. Asking him for just a few dollars. Can you hook a brother up? My dad looked at me and he spoke to me in King James English. Quoting scripture, true story. He said, "Silver and gold hath I none. But such as I have give I unto thee. The grace of the Lord Jesus Christ go with you, son." He gave me a great big hug. Mama gave me a great big hug. They got in the car and drove off into the horizon and left me standing there. Well, 4 years later, some of those guys who were driving those fancy cars were driving past the stage. I was standing on the stage getting my degree. Cum laude and thank you, Lord. And so that's why I fight so hard for you and for students like you. The country needs our most brilliant and brightest minds, shaped by a deep moral tradition, fashioned by those who are often on the underside of our nation's history. You are the descendants of the slaves, folks who kept making a way out of no way. We honor them and we remember the Arawak and the Carib, the people who were here when the Europeans arrived. And the question before us is, can a nation with a history of slavery in the New World, given the genocide of the Native Americans, given all of the different places and the backgrounds from which we have come, the brilliance and insight of our charter documents, the Jeffersonian tradition. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The great question before us is, can we indeed be a nation that embraces all of its people? Is there room in the country for all of us? Is there a world that we can build that embraces all of our children? And I submit to you, that is up to you. So I was inspired by Dr. King to make my way. I didn't know I'd become the pastor of his church. I didn't know I'd become a United States senator, where I'd be able to push the president to do student debt cancellation. We've done $144 billion in student debt cancellation. We've invested $7 billion in historically black colleges and universities. We've done that because I know what these colleges can do. They've been punching way above their weight for so very long. And so I want to encourage the students here to find that thing that makes you come alive and pursue it with all your might. You never know what difference you can make. You never know the impact you can have on the soul of a nation. To everyone that openeth up a way and a way and a way, the high soul climbs the highway while the low soul gropes the low, and in between on misty flats the rest drift to and fro, but to each one there openeth up a highway and a low, and each one must decide the way his soul would go. I decided when I was sitting where you sit that I wanted to make a difference in some corner of the world. I wasn't sure how I would do it. But I said, if the Lord needs somebody, here am I. Send me. And so, while I sit in the United States Senate, when I arrived as a senator, that wasn't the first time I'd been in the Capitol. I came on another occasion as a preacher activist in 2017 when they were passing the Farm Bill. And the other party was giving a $2 trillion tax cut, mostly to those who didn't need it, on the backs of those who could use more support. And so I arrived in the rotunda of the Capitol. And I was standing there with members of the clergy, and we were praying and singing, and they said, you can't pray and sing in the rotunda. I thought to myself, somebody needs to pray and sing, because they were passing this budget with this $2 trillion tax cut, mostly for the riches of the riches of the rich. And I began to speak, and I said, a budget is not just a fiscal document, it's a moral document. Show me a nation's budget, and I'll show you its values and who it thinks matters. Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And so I said that if this budget were an EKG, it would suggest that America has a heart problem. And we've come to perform moral surgery. And so we began to sing, and they said, we'll give you 3 warnings, after which we will arrest you. But what they did not understand is that I had already been arrested. My soul, my mind, my imagination had already been arrested by this idea of a country that embraces all of us, that creates opportunity for all of us. And so they arrested me that day. I didn't mind because I've been shaped by that tradition of civil disobedience. It seemed a small price to pay. The Capitol Police took me to central booking. God always dreams a dream bigger than the dream we've been dreaming for ourselves. Nowadays, I pull up to the Capitol and the same police that arrested me that day escort me to my office or wherever I need to go. I was protesting the Farm Bill. Now I'm helping to write the Farm Bill. And so show up. You never know the difference it will make. Do the work that you're called to do in your corner of the world. There's something that needs to be done in this world that only you can do. And God never shows us the full itinerary. We just have to have a willingness to go, to commit our head and our heart and our hands to the hard work. Push hard against those who are trying to divide us in this moment. In this great moral fight in which we're dealing with the virus of bigotry and hatred and its ability to reconstitute itself, all of its vicious variants. Stand up for all of God's children. Don't just stand up against racism, stand up against sexism. Don't just stand up against sexism, stand up against homophobia, stand up against classism, stand up against any system that would deny the humanity of all of God's children. Dr. King was right. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And so this is our work. And every now and then you get to do something amazing. I wasn't sure I would run for the United States Senate. I'm really a pastor. I knew I was called to the pastorate, and when the time came, I knew I was supposed to run, and it gave me an opportunity to lift the issues that I've been fighting for to a new plane, so that poor people could be seen, so that these issues could be heard. The United States of America, the land of the free, is the mass incarceration capital of the world. We're 5% of the world's population. We warehouse 25% of the world's prisoners. And I just wanted to lift those issues in the public square at the level of a Senate race, and hopefully I would win. But not only did I win, we flipped the United States Senate. And had I not run, and had we not won, even with Joe Biden in the White House, if we had not flipped the Senate, you would not have a Supreme Court justice named Ketanji Brown Jackson, the first black woman ever to serve in the Supreme Court. The day we confirmed her, the whole Senate chamber was full on both sides of the aisle. It's a historic moment. And And Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey and I were standing there next to the chair of the presiding officer. And the vice president was sitting in the chair. I want you to picture this. Senator Raphael Warnock, Senator Cory Booker, former Senator Vice President Kamala Harris, the three of us standing there. She was sitting in the chair. And with the three of us there chatting, waiting on the vote to open, the remarkable thing is that you were looking in that moment at more than a quarter of the United States senators ever, black senators ever to serve in the history of this country. Remarkable, stunning, and sad fact. There are now 12 senators now that Senator Butler has now come. And in that moment, as we were standing there, the vice president said to Cory Booker and I, you know, this is a historic moment. We said, that's right. She said, guys, you know what y'all ought to do? You ought to take this moment and just write a letter to somebody who comes to your mind in this moment. She made that suggestion to us the way black women make suggestions. And then she gave each of us a sheet of paper. But it wasn't just any sheet of paper, it was the letterhead of the Vice President of the United States. And I sat down with the letterhead of the Vice President of the United States, and I wrote this little girl a letter, not just any little girl. The only job I love more than being a senator, more than being a pastor, is being Chloe and Caleb's dad. My 7-year-old daughter and my 5-year-old son. At the time, my daughter was 5, and I sat down and I wrote a letter to her. I said, Dear Chloe, today we confirm to the United States Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. In the long history of our nation, she is the first Supreme Court justice who looks like you, with hair like yours. While we were confirming her, a friend of mine, the vice president, suggested that I write a letter. By the way, she's the first vice president who looks like you. I write this letter just to say that in America, with hard work, you can achieve anything you set your head and heart to do. Love, Dad. I wrote that as a letter and as a promissory note to my children, that I would do everything I could to make it true. Make smooth the path for children all over our country. And I was so overwhelmed, I couldn't wait to mail it to her. You know what I did? I FaceTimed her. And I said, Chloe, I've got something I want to read to you. And I read the letter to her, pouring out my heart to her. My then 5-year-old daughter listened. She was not impressed. She said, can I go out and play now? She didn't get it then, but she'll understand it later. And in the years since then, it occurred to me that in a real sense, in my work in the Senate, and in your work, teachers and faculty members in this university, researchers, that in your work, students, that you do every single day, I want you to think of your work as a letter to the future. I want my letter to say that I stood up in this defining moment in our country in which there are those who are attacking the democracy itself, where there are demagogues who want to divide us because people who have no vision traffic in division. They don't know how to lead us, so they're trying to divide us, and it's up to us to push back. I got elected on January 5th, first black United States Senator from Georgia. John Ossoff got elected that same day, first Jewish Senator from Georgia. And I believe that somewhere in glory, Martin Luther King Jr. and Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel were giving each other the high five, because when they marched alongside one another. The next day we saw a violent and vicious attack on the Capitol, January 6th. I got elected on January 5th, violent attack on January 6th. And so to search for the soul of America is to decide which of those things are we going to be. There is a sense in which we are January 5th and we are January 6th. Like all families, our American family has a complicated story. I don't have to tell you that. You're in the Virgin Islands. You're a part of the colonial history of this experiment in the New World. The question is, will we be January 5th or will we be January 6th? Will we give in to the violent assault on the Capitol, which then metastasized as voter restriction bills all across our country? It does not give Stacey Plaskett what she ought to have, a vote in the United States Congress. I choose January 5th. I choose beloved community. I choose a nation that embraces all of us, because I cannot be all that I ought to be until you are all that you ought to be. That's what the young prophet Martin Luther King Jr. said, and for which he gave his life. And so every now and then, in closing, and nobody believes a Baptist preacher when he says in closing, every now and then I grow weary. My soul gets fatigued. Sometimes I'm soul weary. And when that happens, I just look up. And because I'm a pastor, I'd love to tell you that when I look up, I see something deep and profound. Preachers are given to hyperbole, the finger of God writing across the milky deep. All I actually see is birds flying by. But I love to see geese fly, because geese fly in a V formation. Pelicans flap their wings faster, but they don't get as far. Pelicans fly alone, geese fly together. And the one out front, the leader, the one who's always on CNN and MSNBC, the one who seems to have all the glory and the sunlight on his face, is actually working the hardest. Because you can't lead people where you're not willing to go. The one out front, because of aerodynamics, is actually working the hardest. What I like about geese is that every now and then the one out front grows tired. And when he grows tired, he just moves further back into the formation. That's what Dr. Hall is about to do in a few weeks. He just moves further back into formation, but he's still in the formation. That's what all of us at some point, you see me standing here, but the day will come when I will have to move back into formation. And what I like about geese is that when that time comes, the one out front just moves further back into formation. And when he moves back, she moves forward and just takes his place, and they keep flying. What I love about geese is they do it without an insurrection. They They do it without engaging in voter suppression. They do it without attacking diversity, equity, and inclusion, because geese understand that our collective destination is much more important than my individual location. The only way for us to get there is for everybody to have a chance to use their gifts so that we can get there together. So I charge you, young sisters and brothers, to do all you can to redeem the soul of America. 56 years ago, Dr. King walked into destiny. He left it to you. And so keep pushing. If you have a mountain, just climb it. If you have a river, just cross it. If you have a dream, just chase it. If you have a vision, just pursue it. If you have an idea, just do it. If you have a bad habit, just break it. A handicap, overcome it. A talent, just develop it. A song, just sing it. A testimony, just tell it. A sermon, just preach it. A vote, just cast it. All you have is life, live it. Go forth, imagine the unimaginable. Think the unthinkable, conceive the inconceivable, achieve the unachievable, do the impossible. And all of us are standing here on tiptoe, waiting to see what you will do and who you will become.
University and the entire community, we want to thank you for those inspiring words and thank you for the inspiring life that you have lived. Senator Warnock has agreed that since this is a student convocation, that he will take a few questions from our students. The students, we would ask if you would come to the mic and share your question with Senator Warnock. You can be seated after you've asked your question, and he will respond. We only have a limited amount of time. You have been designated as those who do have questions, and so we would ask that the first student comes forward to the mic, and we will ask Senator Warnock to come back again.
Good afternoon, Senator Warnock. Welcome to the University of the Virgin Islands. My name is J. Chrisley Boone. I am an accounting major, and I am also the junior senator of the Student Government Association here at UVI. Thank you for this opportunity to ask this question. My question is, how do you see the role of HBCUs in shaping the future of America's soul, and what specific steps do you think should be taken to further empower these institutions? I will read again. How do you see the role of HBCUs in shaping the future of America's soul, and what specific steps do you think should be taken to further empower these institutions? Thank you.
Well, thank you so very much, Senator. I have and I maintain a deep commitment to historically black colleges and universities. And let me say that, as is the case with the historic black church, we've never meant anything racially exclusive about these designations. And I have to take a moment to say that because America suffers from amnesia. I'm a pastor in the black church. My church is increasingly racially diverse, much to my great pleasure. Something that we are actively actually working on. I feel like if we can't build an integrated church at Dr. King's house, where can we do it? But when we say the black church, we're the black church not because we wanted to be, but because we had to be. Black church was born literally fighting segregation, fighting racism. Even the communion was segregated. Historically, black colleges and universities were created for freedmen. We would say freedmen and women, so that they might be educated. Some actually went to schools in the North. The state of Georgia, my state, actually paid some folks to go to some of the schools in the North so they wouldn't go to the University of Georgia. And so some of the folks who are making policy right now, I think we have reached a point where there's a generation of leadership that doesn't know the history, doesn't want to know the history. And so they're making uninformed decisions. HBCUs still play an important role. And I'm deeply concerned because right now we're seeing an assault on affirmative action. Somehow the right has turned DEI into some kind of a bad word. I mean, think about that. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. How do those become cuss words? So we've seen an assault, and we know the outcome. It's not going to be good. So assault on the ability of majority institutions to acknowledge that history, not to mention what's happening at the secondary level to get kids ready. And then at the same time, an assault, I'm worried that there's going to be an assault on our historically black colleges and universities. So you have my commitment that I will be a fierce advocate for these schools. They've been punching way above their weight. Black colleges and universities are largely responsible for our black professional class. I think it's no accident that the Vice President of the United States and the first black senator from Georgia are graduates of Howard University and Morehouse College, HBCUs. So we've invested $7 billion in HBCUs. I will continue to push for that. I will continue to push for student debt relief. By the way, black students, 10 years after college, 2/3 of black students, because of interest, owe more than they borrowed. And so I've been pushing hard on this because it's about closing the racial wealth gap. While at the same time, we've got to address the larger structural issues that created that mess in the first place. We've got to get college tuition, not here because it's incredibly low here, but we've got to get college tuition out of control. Back into control. It's out of control. So all of these things have to be addressed. And in all the bills that we push, for example, we passed the Science and Chips bill a couple of years ago. I made sure that there were specific provisions in there for black colleges and universities for research and the kinds of things you're doing here. And you have my commitment that I'll continue to fight. I'm going to make all the rest of my answers shorter, but you asked the right question.
Good afternoon, Senator Warnock. My name is Lenice Marchant, and I am a social work major on the campus of Albert Einstein campus in St. Croix. I am also the president of the Social Work Club, and amongst other things, also a mother of two in college as well. And just want to add that my husband is also a graduate of Howard and Morehouse as well.
Howard and Morehouse, yeah. All right. Which one did he attend first?
He went to Morehouse first, and then he went to Howard after for medical school.
Great.
My question is, how can the unique perspective and experiences of the HBU students and communities contribute to the national dialogue on unity, diversity, and shared values that define the soul of our nation?
I think that there's something special that happens on these campuses. And I don't know that I can put my finger on it completely, but we used to say that, Howard Thurman had this quote that over the heads of her students, Morehouse holds a crown that she challenges them to grow tall enough to wear. I'm sure you heard that over and over from your husband to the point of ad nauseum. I think that that's true of all of our HBCUs, that there's something special that happens here. The camaraderie, the relationships that are built, and the commitment that education is not just about the training of the head, but the tuning of the heart. Mays used to say that I'm disturbed about man. We don't have any guarantee that when we train a man's head, we will train his heart. That if we increase knowledge, we will increase goodness. There's no necessary correlation, he said, between knowledge and goodness, and we know that. There's some perverse genius at work in the world right now. And so we need our HBCUs. They are a part of the puzzle. We also need our MSIs, and we need our majority institutions, all towards the aim of building what Dr. King called the beloved community.
A pleasant good afternoon to everyone. My name is Celestial Dazel, and I am a graduating senior, and I stand before you today representing SGA Senior Senator, as well as UVI's homecoming queen, currently, and Senator Warnock. My question to you is, as a leader who has often spoken about the intersection of faith and politics, how do you navigate the complexities of representing diverse constituencies while staying true to your own moral and spiritual convictions?
Thank you so much. Great question. I've heard now from a senator, a president, and a queen. So I believe strongly in the separation of church and state. I am a pastor who serves in the Senate, but no one's more committed to the separation of church and state than me. I don't want the church to traverse those boundaries in a way that is inappropriate. I have no desire to live in a theocracy, Christian or otherwise. And I don't want the state messing too much with the church. We live in our faith, we live under the law. And so the tenet of the separation of church and state is one of the things I love about America. I live in a pluralistic democracy. And what I try to do as a pastor in the Senate is to be informed by the values of my faith. I don't take the doctrine, the orthodoxy, but the values of my faith: love, justice, compassion, empathy for the neighbor, centering the most marginalized members of the human family. By the way, values that I believe are resonant in all of the great faith traditions and embraced by people who embrace no particular faith at all. I bring all of those to bear as I participate in the grand experiment of what it means to live in a pluralistic democracy. And so I get really concerned, and I'm very worried about the emergence of Christian nationalism in our country, which is too often really just a proxy for white supremacy. Very concerned about that. And the reason I know it is because, one of the reasons I know it is because I remember being frustrated when some of the folks on the right, we challenge them on social justice issues, and they say, well, that is important, but what really matters is personal morality. And they'd always point to the personal morality issues. And we'd be, well, what about voting rights? Doesn't that matter? We think that's a moral issue too. We think health care, people's access to health care is a moral issue. And they'd point to these very individual, personal morality. They'd operate in that domain. So that's really what matters. And I was frustrated because I thought that was a truncated view of the gospel as a Christian. I say, well, I guess that's what they believe. They believe that personal morality, that's the thing. And then those same people are telling me that the current one that shall remain unnamed is the Messiah. I can't say more than that. I forgot where I am. But I don't want to get the president in trouble. But you understand what I'm saying? I'm like, if that's true, how you pick him? So anyway, I believe in the separation of church and state. It is for me not a contradiction at all. I bring the values of my faith. Again, values that I think are resonant in all the great faith traditions to the work of serving in the Senate. I fight for health care. I fight for voting rights because I believe that those are moral issues.
Good afternoon, Senator Warnock. I am Nadesh Baba, a business management major and a graduating senior. I am the vice president of the SGA on the St. Croix campus, as well as the Thurgood Marshall College Fund ambassador and influencer. My question to you today is, what are your top 2 important principles you live by that has transformed you into the leader you are today?
Wow, that's a tough question. Top 2. Well, I try to live my life with integrity. And that isn't to say that I'm perfect, far from it. But I do try to live my life with integrity. That I think part of leadership is modeling the thing you're talking about. And you ought to at least strive to have some consistency between what you say and what you do. And I do think that in this moment in which people have become so deeply cynical, they don't trust the government, they don't trust the military, they don't trust the courts, they don't trust faith institutions, that those of us who are in leadership positions have a responsibility, again, not to pretend like we're superhuman. We make mistakes. But even when you fall, own up to it and say it, and admit it, and ask for forgiveness and keep moving. But I think integrity is very, very important. I think listening, being a good listener is important. Particularly listening to folks who are on the margins. I think listening and leadership go hand in hand. And I think being a lifelong learner and striver. All right, I know you asked for 2, but there you go. I used to have a high top fade. I know you can't imagine it, but I did. I had a high top fade just like that. You're laughing too hard about that, looking at my head.
Good day, Senator Warnock. It is indeed a privilege and honor to welcome you to our HBCU on the beach. You are indeed an immense inspiration, and we can't thank you enough for what you currently and continue to do. My name is Darren Connor, and I am a sophomore, currently studying psychology. I am the student as well as the community outreach coordinator for the Student Leadership Council. My question for you is, given the current debates regarding voting rights and voter suppression, how do you propose we protect and expand access to voting for all Americans, including American-born citizens of the U.S. Virgin Islands who, similar to persons born on Puerto Rico, are unable to vote in the U.S. presidential elections.
So, I am deeply committed to voting rights. I was John Lewis's pastor. I was clear that while I was the pastor, he was the mentor. But I'm inspired by him and those who worked alongside him in ways that I cannot adequately express. Voting rights for me is not just another issue. As a senator, I work on a whole range of issues. I was on the phone with my staff earlier this afternoon dealing with some foreign affairs issues, dealing with what's going on in Gaza. I'm deeply concerned about. That's another conversation. Talking to them about what's going on in Haiti. But voting rights for me is the whole game, because it's about the democracy itself. It's the framework in which we get to fight for the things that matter. So whether your issue is health care or the planet, climate change, democracy, this idea that one person, one vote, given the nature of humanity, it is the best check we have, I think, against tyranny. It's imperfect, but it's the best check we have against tyranny. Reinhold Niebuhr said that humankind's capacity for justice makes democracy possible, and our capacity for injustice makes democracy necessary. And so it's the whole game. So I remain focused on passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which would be the renewal of the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which they used to renew without fail. The last time it passed the Senate, the year was 2006. It passed the Senate 98-0 and was signed by a Republican president named George W. Bush. But in recent years, folks, colleagues of mine in the other party have turned their backs on voting rights. And I continue to push them on this issue. We also have to pass the Freedom to Vote Act, which would expand people's access. And I do think that this question about the voices and the role of people in the Virgin Islands, which is a territory of the United States. As a person committed to justice, committed to democracy, committed to human rights, I struggle with that. Now, I had conversations with your own elected officials here yesterday, and you know, I would suspect that there may be diversity of opinion about that question even here, because there are things that come along with voting for the President of the United States, like you got to pay taxes at that level too. So the question, I think, may not be as simple as it might appear. I think it's different, for example, from people in the District of Columbia who are right there. I'm not saying the Virgin Islands shouldn't have the same thing, but I do think that that is a debate probably here that I do want to respect. But my bottom line is this. My bottom line is self-determination. That's what makes you a human. Self-determination. And I think the only way we get the answer right is to center the people in their voices about what makes sense both for the Virgin Islands and what makes sense for the country. Last one? All right.
Good afternoon. Senator Warnock. My name is Osjay Wilson. I'm from the Albert E. Sheen campus. I'm senior, graduating senior, I'm majoring in business management. And my question to you is, many persons are currently turning a blind eye to politics. Can you share how this practice of turning a blind eye can be destructive to the persons turning away and for future generations to come?
We have to participate. Not to vote is to vote. So I know you don't have that issue here because you're not voting in the presidential election, but I'm saying to folks that I know, you got families, members in Georgia and in the United States. Tell your family members that there's no such thing as not voting. There really isn't, because it is a binary choice. And whatever you think, I think at some point in this election cycle, we've got to come to terms with the fact that it is a binary choice. This is not Baskin Robbins, not 31 flavors. It's a binary choice. And it's going to be this person or that person. That's it. So when you choose not to vote, you're advancing somebody closer to the White House. You're a 501c3. I'm not going to tell you who to advance, but I don't want an insurrectionist in the White House.
Thank you. I recognize that there were some other students who had some questions, but we will figure out a way in which you get your questions answered as well. Before hearing our last selection from our students, I do want to recognize that our Senate President has joined us. Thank you for being here. Novell Francis. And now we will hear from our jazz combo, and then following them, we will have our final student speaker who will provide us with our closing student remarks, and that is our SGA president on this campus, Tamia Grant.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, all. My name is Daniel Linton. Thank you, Senator Warnock, for your fantastic presentation and visiting us today here at the university. Today we will be playing a song to you entitled Freedom. I know it to be written and performed by Stanley and the 10 Sleepless Nights, a group from St. Croix, actually. And I will be accompanied with Tishan Paul on tenor saxophone, Elena Joseph on the clarinet, Shamori Gums on the trombone, Mr. Dion Paulson on drums, Michael McCants on the bass, and Mr. Carlton Holmes on piano.
Dr. David Hall, President of our esteemed university, the Honorable Senator Reverend Raphael G. Warnock, our eloquent keynote speaker, esteemed guests, faculty, staff, and students. We have arrived at the end of this monumentous event. And as this 2024 student convocation ends, I want to take a moment to express my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has been involved in the preparation and execution of this inspiring occasion. I am truly inspired by the message delivered by Reverend Warnock, as well as the dedication and expertise he demonstrated throughout his life. I also want to acknowledge the contributions of the amazing team that worked tirelessly to put this event on. Everything that transpired today has undoubtedly enriched our collective understanding of achievements and propelled us closer to our shared goals. As we part ways, let us carry forward the spirit of innovation that has defined our time together. On behalf of the Student Government Association Orville E. Ken Campus and our student body, once again, I extend my sincerest thanks to our esteemed speakers, guests, organizers, and attendees for making this convocation a resounding success. I hope the words shared today continue to influence you, not only for a few days, but for years and years to come. Thank you. Senator Warnock, on behalf of the student body of the University of the Virgin Islands, we would like to present you with this gift bag.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right.
Have a blessed day, everyone.
You are an alum. So when we see you in the halls of the Senate, we want you to be wearing UVI attire. All right, all right. He is fully redeemed now. Thank you very much for your presence here. Thank you for being such a wonderful guest speaker, wonderful person and leader for this nation. I want to thank all of you for coming out. It has been a special moment for this university to have you present. As always, it takes a lot to pull off something of this sort. I want to thank those who are over our Sports and Fitness Center for making this space available. I also want to thank our security and physical plant individuals who work so hard to make sure things are working well. The Rycole Center staff for making sure that the sound is proper. Our music, which I hope you have enjoyed. Our public relations office, which has made sure to get the information out, especially to the community, so community members could be here. Our vendors who are helping us live stream this event all over the world. And we just want to thank all of you for your support. But finally, I have to give a heartfelt thanks to members of the President's Office, led by Ms. Una Dyer, Jessica Taylor, Jessica Laplace, Gail Steele. They have worked tirelessly to not only bring about this event, but all of the other travel and other necessary items that had to occur in order for Senator Warnock to be here. So I would just ask that you join me in thanking the President's Office staff for their outstanding contribution. I'm sure there may be someone I've overlooked in thanking, but my heart goes out to everyone in this institution that make so many things happen and happen in a wonderful way. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and it has been our honor to have Senator Warnock with us, and it has been our honor to have you here to listen. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. As you can see, things happen.